This time of year, we get quite a few questions from a lot of you guys sending things into us through all the different social sites. So, and we're going to try to address some of the questions that you sent into us. One of the first questions that we got is the seam. There's a visible seam on the golf ball, and that question comes up: does it really have an effect on performance? And the USGA has a requirement. It's called a symmetry test. And if you remember back in the, I'm going to say it was probably around the 2000s or 2001 when Pro V1 came out. The dimples actually lined up in a row right around the seam of the golf ball. So if you teed the golf ball up in a certain way in seam, so you hit it down range, the golf ball actually went further. It was an issue. It was a problem. It was solved. There was a certain time limit to solve it, and that was corrected. So today, players still think that if they tee a golf ball up along the seam, they're going to get an advantage and it's going to go further. And that's not really the case. The USGA has a symmetry test that we submit golf balls for. So basically that means that the golf balls are tested what they call in-seam, so the ball is hit downrange in-seam, and then cross-seam. So it's opposite the seam. And the golf balls have to fly about a 260-yard shot, and it has to land within half a second. So if it's teed up one way versus the other way, landing within a half a second, it's actually 0.4 seconds, I believe. If it was not symmetrical, it wouldn't pass this test if it wouldn't land that close. So, and there's also a distance gap. So I think it's less than 4 yards. So if you tee it up one way or the other, it has to be under 4 yards and under a half second. That's what we have to do for aerodynamics to make them be legal to the USGA. So when we submit golf balls to say the USGA legal, symmetry test is one part of that test, and that's done with all the golf balls that we sell. So the golf balls all pass. So I know there's a seam that you see on them. What some manufacturers do is they actually take the two halves coming together. Every golf ball has a seam. There's solid inside the ball, so how would you get the insides in if there wasn't a seam to put them together? So the cores and mantles go in and the covers come together. Some companies have seams that are visible that you can see, and some actually like interlock like a little sine wave. So the two cavities come together and they kind of interlock with each other. There's still a seam there, but the seam is actually a little sine wave versus a flat seam across the side. Is there advantage of one over the other? There isn't if the USGA has a symmetry test. So if we pass the symmetry test, we max out the ball speed, we lower the spin, and we max out the distance, there really isn't a big change to do to the aerodynamics to make the golf ball be better with respect to distance. So trust that in-seam, across-seam, the golf balls go the same distance. They're USGA tested for symmetry. The seam for us is used where we print the MTBX or the MTB black stamps. A lot of people use that to actually help align on putting. So it's a nice little alignment aid that you can use on putting. And understand that you don't need to worry about whether there's a difference in performance if the golf ball is teed up in seam or cross seam.